All right, so let's talk about 529 to Roth transfers under the new Secure 2.0 Act. All right, a lot of you guys are excited about this, and I agree with my man Jeffrey Levine, who had written this article, that this has got a disproportionate amount of ink being bled about it. So let's go into this. Again, this is from the kitsis.com report talking about the Secure Act 2.0. All right, so one of the provisions of Secure Act 2.0 has grabbed a disproportionate percentage of headlines in the financial media, with the introduction of the ability beginning in 2024 for some individuals to move 529 money into a Roth IRA. This new transfer pathway, created by Section 126, Section 529, Section 401k, Section 72T, Section 126 of the Secure Act, will be an intriguing option for some individuals, but it comes with a number of conditions that must be satisfied. All right. The conditions include the Roth IRA receiving the funds must be in the name of the beneficiary of the 529 plans. All right, the beneficiary. Now, that should raise a question for you. We'll get to it. The Roth IRA receiving the funds must be in the name of the beneficiary. So it can't go from my Roth from Liam's 529, if that makes sense. The 529 plan must have been maintained for 15 years. That's interesting. I actually think that's pretty cool. Any contribution to the 529 plan within the last 5 years and the earnings are ineligible to be moved to a Roth. That's another interesting point there. All right. So again, 15 years it has to have been open for, but any contributions within the last 5 is ineligible, which inherently mean anything contributed within the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 before 15 years is eligible. You get that? So essentially what I'm saying is, if you open a 529 in 2008, right? Yeah, 15 years, and you started with $10, and 6 years ago you put $1 million in there. It's not going to be the whole million, trust me, but some amount of that money could be transferred to a Roth, as long as the beneficiaries are the same as the Roth and the account has been open for at least 15 years, even though you only had $10 in it from 2008. The amount you contributed, as long as it's over 5 years, some of that is eligible. The annual limit that can be moved from a 529 to a Roth is the IRA contribution limits for the year. All right, less any regular or Roth IRA contributions that are made for the years. In other words, no doubling up with funds from outside the 529 plan. All right. So that just says you can't put money into a Roth and then also, on the other hand, put money from your 529 into the Roth. It doesn't work like that. I just want to revisit this. The annual limit for how much can be moved is the IRA contribution limit for the year, less any regular traditional IRA or Roth IRA contributions. So if the annual limit is $7,000, you've already done $7,000 to your Roth, you can't do another $7,000 from your 529 to your Roth. Doesn't work like that. The maximum allowed is $35,000 over your lifetime. All right, so that guy who put $1 million in 2000 and 6 years ago, 2016. Yeah, 2016. The max he could possibly do would be $35,000, and he can only do $7,000 a year. So it'd take 5 years. It'd take 5 years to move the $35,000 from 529 to a Roth. So that's freaking fantastic. I love it. It's just not nearly what I think a lot of people are thinking. So here we got an example. Helena is the beneficiary of a 529 plan that has excess funds she will not need for school. It's been open for more than 15 years. In 2024, she contributes $4,000 to a Roth. And as such, assuming the IRA contribution remains at $6,500 for 2023 and 2024, she could put another $2,500 into her Roth for the year from her 529, because she already put, she already put $4,000 in. She has $6,500 to max, so she could put $4,000. She could move $2,500 from her 529 to her Roth. All right. All right, the legislative text of this provision leaves a lot to be desired. For instance, it's not entirely clear whether a change in the plan's beneficiary will trigger a new 15-year seasoning period before those funds can be transferred. Exactly. So let's just say you had a 529 for Liam when he was born, and 15 years has gone by, and now you're like, I'm going to transfer it to myself, make myself the beneficiary. As such, it's been open more than 15 years. I am the owner of the Roth, and I'm the owner of I'm the beneficiary of the Roth and the beneficiary of the 529. Can I move $6,500 or $7,000 to my Roth from that 529? We don't know. All right. Initial indications from Congress seem to point that the 15-year period being unaffected by the change in beneficiary, but written guidance by Congress would be needed. I would not hold my breath on that, frankly. I mean, I would not hold my breath that if you change beneficiaries, you don't need a new 15-year period. But be it as it may, we don't know for sure. Such treatment would seem to make sense. So if Congress is trying to nudge parents or other interested parties concerned about what if they don't go to college question to make 529 contributions, I don't think Congress is thinking about that. I don't think so. Congress is not sitting there thinking, what if they don't go to college? No, they're just trying to make it so they give a little bit to everybody to make them happy when they pass their stupid legislation. For instance, if a parent contributed to a 529 plan for the benefit of their child and maintained ownership of the account, but the child did not need the use for 529 money, it appears that the parents would be able to change the beneficiary to themselves and transfer the 529 plan to their own Roth. Yeah, exactly. While it's described above, there are a number of restrictions on the ability to move 529 money to a Roth. All right. More specifically, individuals are generally prohibited from making Roth IRA contributions once their MAGI, modified adjusted gross income, exceeds a certain threshold. So again, if you have income above the ability to make Roth contributions straight up to your Roth, what the idea would be is that you could still move money from your 529 to your Roth, even if you're if you're subject to income contribution limits for your Roth because you make too much money. What this is saying is that you could still transfer funds of 529 plans to Roths authorized by Secure Act will not be subject to the same income limitations. I hope that makes sense. All right, so there are a number of restrictions on the ability to move 529 plan to a Roth, but also an advantage is that if you make too much money to directly contribute to a Roth, you can do so through the 529 option. Planning opportunities with this is likely that most individuals will use the new ability to transfer up to $35,000 from a 529 to a Roth starting in 2024. All right, and that is for the congressionally intended purpose, which allows money that was earmarked for educational purposes to be repurposed as retirement savings. I completely agree. I think it's good. However, for a small cross-section of high net worth families, this new technique can be the retirement pump for children, grandchildren, and other loved ones. For example, at the time a child was born, a meaningful contribution can be made to a 529 for their benefit. Later, when the child turns 15, so we have the 16, so we have the 15 years behind us, the account's funds can begin to be moved to the Roth for the child's benefit and the amount of the contributions allowed. Again, we have to assume, yes, although notably the transfer rules require that the child have compensation. So we have to assume there's earned income for the child to do such a thing. If he has earned income, you can. If he doesn't have earned income, it doesn't look like you can. Even though up here, if you make too much money, you can't. It's weird, but just remember, if you're doing it for the benefit of a kid, he has to have earned income. Let's see. With proper planning, continued annual transfers until the $35,000 lifetime transfer limit is reached, the child's Roth IRA could easily approach or even exceed $1 million. Yep, 100%. That's good stuff, man. So here's some comments. Could you please clarify whether the 529 Roth rollover recipient to have earned income? He talks about that, so we're not going to get to that. There's another one, a litany. Let's see. Do you think the Roth employer... Okay, hold on a second. Here's what I asked. All right, right here. Here's my man, Patient Cash. The 529 plan to a Roth conversion is particularly interesting. Will this provision also apply to other education savings accounts? Also on the 529 target topic, is it correct that states would need to adopt this provision for the Roth contribution to be a qualified distribution from a 529? All right. So Jeff says, thanks so much for the kind words. Unfortunately, Coverdale education savings accounts don't look to qualify for this. All right. You can move ESAs into a 529. Okay, gotcha. Prepaid tuition plans are generally organized under the Internal Revenue Code 529. Should be available for this relief. All right. Well, let's see what else we got. Here's my man Brian Strike, who kicks butt. I've interviewed him many years ago on my YouTube channel, and I big fan for a long time, first time. I just emailed him the other day saying, "Hey, I saw you on here, man. I'm curious about this quote of yours. More specifically, whereas individual needs compensation, generally earned income, to make a regular Roth IRA contribution, there is no such compensation requirements to make a 529 plan to Roth transfer." All right. Section 126 states that the annual limit does not exceed the amount applicable to the designated beneficiary under this section. Then, section is the contribution limit for the Roth IRA, starting with an IRA annual deductible limit as defined in this. All right. Well, I hope you're correct. I'm just a little bit lost in all the references to compensation. Assuming you are correct, Jeff, and this is my man Brian, who kicks ass. And Jeff kicks ass. That compensation is not needed. Compensation is not needed. I thought there was compensation, actually. We actually updated the article to address this issue, remove reference to not needing compensation. Okay, so it is needed. So Brian asked about compensation not needed, and Brian said, wait, I don't see that. And Jeff said, we updated to recognize that you do need compensation for the kid. So if you're a Liam, and you have a 529 that your dad opened when he was 0, and now he's 16, and I want to move some of that money to his Roth, he has to have earned income. All right, that's just that simple. And then your old buddy Josh says, Brian Strike is a man, big fan of his. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, good. So we'll stop there. I want to go to another one here on the next. Oh man, this one was awesome. One sec. Right here, new post-death option for surviving spouse beneficiaries of retirement accounts. Some big news there, so stay tuned. I'll probably do that video tomorrow. But don't forget to subscribe to the Doobie Duke down below on locals and on my email list, and put some comments in there. I'd love to hear them. All right, we'll see you guys.